Hello everyone and welcome to the second instalment of our January Jumpstart live webinar sessions. So today is all about creating the perfect project page. Hopefully all of you tuned in last week to the first session about planning your project and getting everything sort of set up and everything sort of ready to create that perfect project page. So now we're going to start by first of all recapping what it is that we did last week. So the first step, planning your project. By now you should have come up with a plan for when you're going to get everything done, ticking things off, putting some dates next to things and assigning responsibilities. You should hopefully have figured out where all the different skills that you need, where they're going to come from, who's going to supply those skills, be that networking, be that social media, or actually copywriting for your page. And also you should have done a network map, which is really, really key to this next stage of creating your project. This should give you a really clear idea of who you're targeting with your crowdfunding project, who those people are, how you're going to reach them, which will make it much, much easier to figure out what it is we need to show to them and need to tell them in order to motivate them to pledge. So today we're looking at creating a project. There's four main things that we're going to focus on. The first one is writing that description. For me, that's actually my favourite bit. I love to write, I really enjoy it, and I find spending a bit of time putting together some copy and accompanying that with images is something I really, really enjoy. So I hope some of you will as well. We're going to touch on making a video, which is not essential for a crowdfunding project. You can put it live without a video, but it's definitely something that we'd recommend for everyone who's going to be part of January Jumpstart. Third thing we're going to look at is rewards, coming up with ideas for rewards, different types of rewards, and how you match that up to your audience. And the final thing is target, how to set a realistic and achievable target. Okay. So first of all, we're going to touch on description. Now, there's three things here that we've outlined in the January Jumpstart pack as being the main things to think about when you're writing your description. This bit really comes first. These three things is very much essential to kind of who you are as a business and what it is that you're trying to do. So before you actually start writing the description for your crowdfunding page itself, go through, look through those three things, but then head over to the pack, the January Jumpstart pack, and work through these things listed under the heading structure. So it tells you a little bit about the kind of things to include. So things like an opening, about why your product was developed, how the money's being spent, and definitely good to have a section on rewards as well, if that's something that is pretty juicy and a pretty good motivator for people who are backing your project. Now, don't worry too much about going into the businessy side of things. People don't need to know your percentage growth revenue year on year. They don't need to know the size of the market or how much the market has grown in the last 4 years. That's really not the stuff that's interesting to them. They're not backing your project or supporting you because of great market growth. They think it's a good idea. They want the product. That's really the core of what it's all about. So don't worry about putting really businessy things, about having versions of your business plan even in there. You really don't need them for your crowdfunding project. Once you've gone through and written your copy, definitely get someone to go through it afterwards with you. Get someone to review it, check it all makes sense, check actually that the wording that you've used is in line with your brand. And that very much goes for the presentation of the project page as well. We want your crowdfunder page to reflect your brand personality for your business or for that particular product. That's going to mean high quality images. It's not going to mean dark images. It's not going to mean pixelated images. It's going to mean really clear, snappy subheadings. It's going to mean great testimonials from your customers. if you've got a Facebook page set up and actually you've got people reviewing there on Facebook, for example, giving you, you know, those star ratings, that's a fantastic little honeypot of testimonials of people kind of saying great things about your business that you can just pop straight onto your page to back you up and show that actually other people think this is a good idea too. It's another great thing about testimonials is having other voices on the page. It almost gives off this sense that there's kind of a crowd already, which is really wonderful. So it's not just kind of the narrator or, you know, the business owner talking to them. Actually, there's lots of people there. If you are writing your page kind of from a sort of third person perspective, it's quite nice, you know, you as the business owner or, you know, kind of the CEO or the person, the brains behind the, you know, the idea, to actually have a little quote or testimony from yourself as well, so that people feel like they've actually connected with who you are and they know who it is that they're trusting with their money. So again, head over to the January Jumpstart pack where you can see all the little things that we've suggested you include, things like photos of your team, infographics, and definitely make sure that you've got your branding on there. Next thing we're going to talk about quickly is the video. Now, as I mentioned before, a video isn't essential. You can put your crowdfunder project live without it, that's fine. But those projects who do have videos tend to do that much better just because that engagement is there. It's much easier to create that emotional relationship with the person who's looking at your project. Now, not everyone will watch your video. We know that, you know, looking at the number of views that your video gets and your project page gets, we know that some people won't watch it. So make sure that anything that is in your video, which you think is really key, that it's also in your description. Just because you think your brand personality and your humanness comes across great in the video, doesn't mean you can leave that out of your description. It should actually be in both. Keep it short. I know we say in the pack 2 minutes, but really as short as possible is better. A lot of stats sort of say that people tend to switch off after the first 10 seconds if people haven't engaged them by then. So don't bother with a long sort of musical intro and sort of slides of different images and sort of a slow build up of kind of your brand. Just get straight in front of the camera and go for it and really sort of have some fun with it. It should actually be an enjoyable experience for yourselves. It should be an opportunity to get across your personality as a company, as a brand, but also as a person, because actually people fund other people rather than projects. They really care about who it is that they're giving their money to. So use it as an opportunity to be genuine and to be yourself, and definitely to try and engage people on that whole sort of other level. So moving on to rewards. There's 4 main types of rewards for business projects for anyone who's looking to launch a new product or using crowdfunding to further their business and engage with new customers. It's best if you can have a mix of all 4. You'll find actually with some projects there's a real emphasis on one particular type. If we look at the example in the January Jumpstart pack, you'll see that Mock and Coffee actually had a lot of products. It was very sort of product related. They did also have events. They held an event here in Newquay and invited people along to that. There wasn't much that they offered in the way of services. That's not really what they're about. But it might be actually for your business that is something that you're offering. So definitely see if you can go across the scale there and have a little bit of everything. Things which aren't available normally tend to do better than things that you're just selling on your online shop, for example, already. So if, for example, you're already selling a particular t-shirt design, it might be that actually on your crowdfunder project, they can get access to a limited edition, something which is only available to people who have backed that crowdfunding project. It might be that actually, and this is one that I've seen a lot of food projects do really well, that you offer a sort of subscription service or to be sort of an early taste tester of new flavours, of new things that come out. Something that isn't actually available to buy ordinarily, but it's something which is really interesting to your audience and to your customers. So definitely think about what their motivation is for backing this project, and make sure that that marries up with what you're offering. Check that network map. I know, I've said it again and again, but that really is the key, is matching up people on your network map to the rewards that you can offer. When you're coming up with rewards, do a big old brainstorm, come up with everything you can, don't rule out anything, no matter how crazy it sounds, and then kind of figure out, actually, let's be sensible about this and figure out what exactly we can and can't offer later. But go as broad as you can kind of to start with. One final thing to mention on rewards is that actually people can opt out of rewards. There's an option on every single project on Crowdfunder for people to just click that they want to donate, that they don't want a reward at all. So it might be, for your friends or family, the people who are going to kind of get you off the starting blocks, that they might just click that button. But otherwise, it's always a good idea to have something which you think is specifically quite good for friends and family, maybe. Maybe that's actually an invitation to a launch party, or something very informal that's just kind of a bit of a gathering. It's a nice way of kind of getting everyone together and saying thank you. So for more examples of good rewards, have a look through those example projects in the January Jumpstart pack. That's definitely the best place to go for those. Okay, so setting target. This is something that we get asked a lot about through email and via sort of customer support at Crowdfunder. People saying, what's a realistic target? I don't know how to set target. So it's always a balance between what is actually realistic from your audience, and you should really know who your audience is by now from doing that network mapping. And actually, how much money do you need to actually do the thing you're trying to do, to actually make this worthwhile of you doing, a crowdfunding project? My advice would always be actually to go small. If you're on the borderline thinking, actually, should I raise 5,000 or 10,000? Generally speaking, I would go for the one that you think we can definitely hit that. Aim to hit that in week 1 or 2, and then actually you can always overfund and you can always kind of raise more money later. Important to remember that the target that you set is not the most amount of money you could raise. That's just kind of the first milestone, is a good way to think about it. So a couple of things to take into consideration. Average pledge across the site is around about £50. There is some variation from project to project. Look at your own rewards and see if you can work out what you think is going to be the most popular one. That's a really good way to kind of work through that. Round about 1 in 20 people who look at your project page will go on to make a pledge. So if you think, I can definitely drive 20 people there through this email, I can definitely get 20 people there. Bear in mind that only 1 of those will pledge based on data. And again, of course, when you're thinking about your network map, those people that are closest to the center in your core network are more likely to pledge than those outside of that. So we're always talking about averages here. There is going to be some variation as your project sort of goes through the timeline, and that will all sort of change. Do bear in mind fees. There's a 5% fee that we take as a platform fee on Crowdfunder. There is VAT on that as well, but of course, if you're VAT registered, you may be able to claim that back. And there are fees by different payment providers. So depending on if you link up to accept payments via PayPal or Stripe, the fees are different. For me, the best way to collect payments is actually through Stripe, which is the credit and debit card one. The percentage that they take is much lower. It's around about 1.5% plus 20p. Plus, it's for me just a much easier way of doing it. For PayPal, people need a PayPal account, and whilst it is pretty popular, I would say more people probably have a debit or credit card than a PayPal account, even still, in this day and age. And don't forget as well, of course, to factor in the cost that you're gonna sort of incur on delivering those rewards, and think about delivery if you are going to be posting rewards. Okay. You do have 2 choices. You can choose to go all or nothing, which does exactly what it says on the tin, or you can choose flexible funding. With flexible funding, it doesn't matter if you hit your target or not. You keep whatever money you raise anyway. With all or nothing, as I say, exactly what it says on the tin. You have to reach that target in order to get the money. Now, if you don't reach target on all or nothing, You're not charged, your backers aren't charged, nobody's charged, there's no fee, you just walk away with nothing and they don't get anything either. For the vast majority of you tuned in, I would say that the most sensible option is actually all or nothing. And that actually surprises a lot of people. They go, well, flexible funding sounds kind of less risky, it sounds like a safer option. But actually, it's a much weaker motivator, flexible funding. You don't have that really strong message, which is, we need to hit this target, you know, in order to make this happen. And actually, it's a really good motivator for yourselves as well, for you and your team, in sort of driving that forwards. Flexible funding shouldn't really be used as a safety net because you don't think your target's realistic. If you don't think your target's realistic, change your target, okay? So what's next? Well, start crowdfunding, that's what's next. So if you haven't added your project to the Crowdfunder site yet, please, please, please do get on and do that as soon as possible. It feels quite good taking that leap and pressing the big button and getting in there and starting to do that. Have a look around and you can start to see how the system works, actually what it is you need to fill in and kind of how you fill out the boxes, and you can start to do things like setting up to collect payments. The final instalment of the January Jumpstart series of live webinars is going to be on Thursday, so in 2 days' time at 2:30. Please do join us live if you can. Of course, if you can't, you can still watch back the link later on. The final instalment of the pack, which is all about running your project and actually promoting it. This is really the juicy one. That will be with you in your inboxes very, very shortly if it's not already. So please do keep checking. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.